Hello guys, in this video we will see how we can upload files to SourceForge as our data exfiltration mechanism. SourceForge provides you multiple ways to interact with its repository, and we will be using SCP, which is basically a file transfer over SSH. Now creating an account is pretty straightforward on SourceForge, so I will skip this part for you, but you need to create an account in order to practice this lecture. After you create an account, you need to install the secure FTP agent on the Kali Linux so we can connect online to the SourceForge repository. And I will be using FileZilla software to do so. So let's start with installing this software, and I will do apt-get, then install FileZilla. I'll go ahead and type yes. And let me just pause the recording until the download is finished. Okay, so once we download the software, let's start the agent really quick. So I'm gonna type FileZilla, which is gonna start the secure FTP agent, or client I should say. So the host is gonna be the name or the domain name for SourceForge, which is web.sourceforge.net. And then you type the username that you created on SourceForge. In my case, it was Udemy, and the password as well. And the port, it was port 22. And I'm gonna go ahead and click on Quick Connect, and let's do not save the password. I'm gonna trust the keys. And as you can see, currently our repository on SourceForge, it's empty. We don't have any files. So right now we will jump back, or we will jump to the target side, so we can write a Python script that will transfer file from the target to this repository. Let's go back. Let's go to the Windows side. Okay, so before we get started in the coding, we need to install two libraries to get our job done. First one is Paramico library, which is a Python library that will allow us to configure an SSH client in just a matter of a few lines. The second library, which is SCP, which is a higher library built on the top of Paramico, and it will be used to transfer the file in just a single line. So let's start quickly with installing these libraries, and I will go type pip install Paramico. And because I already installed this library, it's gonna be telling me that, I already installed this. And the second one, it's pip install SCP. Okay. Okay, so in our source code, we start by importing these libraries, and then we immediately create an SSH client object using the SSH client class from Paramico. Now, when you connect to an SSH server for the first time, if the SSH server key is not stored on the client side, then you will get a warning message saying that the SSH key for that server is not cached in the system, and you will get a prompt whether you want to accept this key or not. Now, since we are doing an automation, we need to inform Paramico to accept the key for the first time without interrupting the session or prompting the user. And this can happen via the auto add policy function. So our policy, if the SSH key was not cached, then we're gonna automatically accept and add this key. So right now, the next step is just to define the SourceForge server name and our login credential so we can authenticate ourselves against the server. After a successful authentication, the getTransport function will return the session ID for us, and we need to pass this session ID to the SCP client. Then all what we have to do is to specify the path for the file that we want to transfer, and the put function is gonna upload that file to our repository. And in this case, I just want to transfer the ie.py file. So let me just pause the recording, and I will update my password here and then try to transfer this file. Okay, so let's quickly run the script and start it. Okay, we can see that we passed the first step, which is authentication, and then the file has been uploaded, and then we just close the socket for the SCP. Now, if we go immediately to the Kali Linux, and I just do something like refresh, it should be here. So if I did refresh, we get our file here. We can see that the file, the Python script that has been, that has been transferred successfully. Okay guys, I hope that this lecture has been informative for you, and thanks for watching.